Okay, so again, today we're going to actually talk through account-based marketing 101. It's really the basics of the what and why and how of account-based marketing. And both Nicole and I are from Mojo Media Labs. So I always like to start anything like this with just thanking you for joining us today. You're really busy and you've only really got 168 hours in your entire week, and you chose to spend an hour of it with us today. So again, thank you for joining this. And secondly, I really do want to make sure that you get as much value out of this hour as possible. So go ahead and drop in the chat what you're hoping to get out of today. Nicole and I are very well acquainted with account-based marketing. So even if we don't cover the topic today and you have a specific question, I'm fairly confident that we'll be able to answer anything you might be able to throw at us. So before we dive in too much deeper, I do want to go ahead and give you a little bit of context as to who Nicole and I are. So Nicole, will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Fraser. I'm a growth marketing consultant here at Mojo Media Labs. And really what that means is it's a fun way to say, I love to really listen and dive in on our clients and our prospects' biggest goals, biggest challenges, and really come up with some thoughtful solutions for how our teams might work together to solve those. And so that's what I do here at Mojo. I've been here for about a year and a half. And if you can see in the chat, I am based right out of Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Nicole. My name is Mason Cosby, and I actually run our agency's marketing. I love my job for the specific purpose that I get to run all the experiments and get to do all the things that every marketer wish they had the opportunity and resources to do. And from there, I take our learnings of what actually works on growing our agency and pass that information on to our clients. And now have the opportunity to pass it on to this HubSpot user group. So really one of my main goals over the next year is to really grow this community of B2B marketers that are looking to grow their business leveraging HubSpot. So if you have any friends that you know would benefit from a group like that, feel free to invite them to this account-based marketing HubSpot user group. And also feel free to go and find us on LinkedIn. I'll send out the slides following this presentation. You can click on either one of those to connect with us. Additionally, there is a HubSpot user group for account-based marketing on LinkedIn where we will talk about upcoming events and share resources there so you can continue to grow your business. So again, here's what we're going to talk through today. What is account-based marketing? How is account-based marketing different from other marketing strategies? What kinds of businesses should use account-based marketing? Why is account-based marketing important for B2B marketers? And how do you even get started with it using HubSpot? So what is it? According to Terminus, account-based marketing is a focused approach to B2B marketing in which marketing and sales teams work together to target best fit accounts and turn them into customers. The reason we quoted Terminus, there's a couple reasons there. One, the co-founder and chief evangelist of Terminus wrote the book, ABM is B2B. He wrote ABM for Dummies. And most recently, he's actually coming out with a new book on account-based marketing called Move, the 4-question go-to-market framework. So really, Sangram from Terminus really brought account-based marketing into the modern age. And I think that they've got a pretty good grasp on what ABM functionally is. But when you really break down that definition, it kind of violates the conventional marketing wisdom that we've seen predominantly used today. Marketing is supposed to generate as much traffic as possible. Just get as many eyes on the website, get as many eyes on our collateral, get as many eyes as possible. And then once we've gotten those eyes, we are supposed to turn that traffic into leads. We're supposed to qualify them through lead scoring or just doing some more research to figure out, are these even the right customers that we would want to work with? And from there, marketing sends over what they think is qualified to sales, and it's the sales job to close the deal. And when you look at account-based marketing, it really doesn't follow that conventional wisdom. And I don't think that account-based marketing is wrong. I actually think that the conventional wisdom of digital marketing might be broken. And I want to give you a prime example actually using Mojo Media Labs. So from August 2020 to August 2021, we actually generated 840,000 website visitors, which is quite a lot of visitors for a marketing agency of about 24 employees. Back in about 2018, we had a lot of clients actually asking us the question of, how do I send you large email files? So one of the people on staff they saw that there was a need to answer this question. So they wrote a blog about it. And lo and behold, about 3 years later, there was a a pandemic where people needed to email really large files from home. So over that year, 307,000 of those website visitors were visiting a blog called 3 Ridiculously Easy Ways You Can Email a Large File. It doesn't take anyone really knowing a whole lot about Mojo Media Labs as a marketing agency to know that people looking to email a ridiculously large file, that's not really qualified traffic. But when you look at sessions as a leading indicator of whether or not you have marketing success, on the surface, this looks like success until you start to dig into it a little bit. It's tons of traffic. It's almost entirely unqualified. But they actually, when they maybe downloaded a piece of content, they were registered in our CRM as a lead. And I can tell you that our sales team didn't close anything based on that traffic. And that's really a prime example of how some of the conventional marketing wisdom is broken. And what we found is that many compensation structures for marketers are built on this idea of generating as many leads as possible. So marketers have started to figure out, how do I generate as many leads? And then the leads don't typically actually turn into qualified customers. And that's why ABM works. ABM, again, is a focused approach to B2B marketing, where marketing and sales teams actually work together to target best fit accounts and turn them into customers. And I broke it up in that way because we're going to dive a little bit deeper on each one of those ideas. So again, a focused approach. You need to stop trying to generate as much traffic as possible. And I know I just threw up a lot of red flags for some marketers. Again, what you want to do is focus on those that will actually buy from you. So this focused approach works really, really well in the B2B space, particularly because you probably sell a specific product or a service for a particular problem in a particular industry. Prior to working at Mojo, I actually worked in the software space for lenders. So when we looked at our total addressable market, we could only sell to those in the lending industry. So it doesn't really make a ton of sense to create marketing efforts that are really designed to attract millions upon millions of people when I really only need to get the attention of about 200 accounts. If we were able to close 200 accounts, we would have made massive market share within the industry. And again, what we found is that many B2B marketing companies are using tactics that are designed to attract millions when there are only 150 to 200 players that are relevant within their industry. So instead of using those tactics, when you actually focus your efforts and you create highly targeted marketing that will engage people that you actually want to do business with, they tend to actually respond, and they respond positively. Doesn't feel like spam, doesn't feel like a waste of anybody's time. It feels like you went the extra mile to create marketing that specifically spoke to their needs. This works even better because marketing and sales teams work together. Again, with the current model of generate as many leads as possible and send them over to sales for sales to deal with, sales gets a ton of leads that just don't work. They don't go anywhere, and we've wasted sales time. So they're frustrated with marketing, but then marketing has done its job by generating all these leads. So marketing is upset with sales because sales isn't closing the deals. So instead of having this back and forth frustration, what you end up getting is recognizing that your total addressable market is probably relatively small. It's not hundreds of thousands of accounts. It's probably just thousands of accounts. So you focus on creating marketing that actually equips your sales team to educate and close those target accounts. And from there, when you give someone information that is actually actionable for them today about improving their business, whether that's saving time, saving money, making money, those are really about the three things that every business wants to do. They want to save time, they want to make money, and they want to save money. When you give them information that's actionable for them today, they would typically listen. And it works even better because you've actually focused on the best fit accounts and you turn them into customers. So there are probably some companies that you know today, and if they were to work with us, we'd actually really help them. I mean, we can help them massively scale their business because we have the solution that they really do need. Start there. Don't overcomplicate it. When you've got customers that you know you could really serve well, you can very easily create marketing that speaks directly to their needs, and they will want to engage and they will want to buy from you because you can prove the ROI that you're going to give them. So you actually then deliver the ROI. You deliver the ridiculous results that they are expecting, that they need. and they will brag about it. What we have found is that really, really good news travels fast, but so does really, really bad news. And where most companies fall is somewhere in that mediocre space. It's not great, it's not bad, but it's just good enough. And good enough doesn't get bragged about. But ridiculous results, that gets bragged about. So they'll give you credit for delivering some ridiculous results. And that word will travel very fast through the industry. And then more will start calling you. And that's why when you do ABM really, really well, your inbound actually gets better. I mean, this is a HubSpot user group after all. We have to talk about inbound. Because if we didn't talk about inbound, would we even be a HubSpot user group? So some people will look at ABM and they'll look at inbound as really opposing marketing strategies. When in reality, my opinion is that you layer ABM on once you've got a great inbound engine running. And when you, again, create great ABM content, your content will actually resonate even better. So yeah, you'll create content for a very small number of accounts, but there's probably also people in your total addressable market that will also find value in that content. So they'll call you. And they may not be on your target account list, but they're still a great customer that you would want to close. Here's the other thing that is fantastic when you do great ABM. If those best fit customers, again, they'll brag about you and they will actually refer you to other people in the industry that you're trying to close. And again, I'm going to use Mojo as an example. About 74% of Mojo's revenue last year was sourced back to referrals that were done through email introductions, which means that in a year where a lot of people struggled a lot, Mojo was able to use our referral network to actually continue to grow as a business. And as a result, we were able to help people come through the pandemic stronger than ever. And it makes sense. Things got bad. So people asked their friends, who do you use to help you grow your business? So we got our best fit clients to refer us. So we got even more great clients. And if you really want to see what that process looks like of going from exclusively inbound, or maybe even not even having an inbound strategy, but just having a series of random acts of marketing and sales that you're trying to do to grow your business, we've got a webinar next week, this same time, with Sangram from Terminus, and then our president and our CEO on why your go-to-market strategy is broken and how to fix it. It's going to walk through that same framework that I identified earlier that Sangram is releasing in his newest book, Move, the 4-question go-to-market framework. So if you are kind of perking up and you're hearing, man, I really think I would want to implement ABM. ABM works at a specific stage of your business's growth, and Sangram is going to help you identify when is it the appropriate time to actually start to implement an account-based marketing strategy. So before I dive into how ABM is different from other marketing approaches, I just opened up a fire hydrant of information. Nicole, do we have any questions that we might want to go ahead and address before we dive any deeper?
Yes, we do. All right. So from Gabriella, she had asked, how do you communicate the messages to existing accounts when your service only forms a small part of what they do?
So Gabriella, when you say your service informs only a small part of what they do, can you maybe give a little bit more context? Because I'd love to give you a more qualified answer.
I think that one thing that you can do is speak to those things that you can really excel at, right? So if you can only cover 50% of what their, request is for, do really well at that 50% of things. And then if you have other partners or folks that can help out with that portion that you might not be great at, bring those into the conversation. That's something that we do here at Mojo all of the time. If there's a certain skill set or technology or whatever it might be that we just don't have, we'll bring in third parties that we have built great lasting, trusted relationships with. I think that that's most important, and have them help and kind of aid in the conversation as well, and go at it as a team.
Nicole, thanks for jumping in. You better understood the question. I was having to change gears. To add a little bit more to what Nicole just said, just to, again, a prime example, Mojo does a lot of ABM strategy, but we actually haven't developed any internal tech and tools to then execute some of those strategies. So that's why we've partnered as a HubSpot Diamond agency. We're a Terminus certified partner. We're partnered with Sendoso. so that we can then refer our existing clients to those tech partners so that they actually then get the tools and the tech to then implement a scalable ABM strategy. So we help them with the strategy, we help them with the implementation of the tech, but we haven't developed the tech itself. We just are really expert practitioners when it comes to how to implement ABM technology and strategy. So I think that strategic partnerships are a fantastic way. If that's not an option based on your business model, or you don't have the seniority to start to develop those strategic partnerships, Simon Sinek did a really fantastic job when he was running his own marketing agency, and people would ask him what he was, if he could do something, and he would say, honestly, I'm not really good at that. I'd be happy to help you find somebody that is. And what he ended up finding is that when he was just honest with people about what he was able to help accomplish, they wanted to work with him more because he knew he was a man of his word, that he was going to actually deliver. And he actually created a better customer experience by just being honest and saying, I'm really good at this. I'm terrible at this. I don't want to lead you wrong and do you bad in this area. So I think it comes back to, again, setting appropriate customer expectations, which is actually something we're going to get into later on. But just owning the things that you are really, really good at, that you can genuinely help customers thrive and excel in, and then being honest with them to say, I know I'm not going to be your best. I'm not going to offer you the best service here. And I think that's okay, because what ends up happening when you try to offer services in those areas is you dedicate so much time to not your core competencies, and you end up creating a worse customer relationship. And then that word that's not great travels fast. So again, focus on what you're best at and build from there. Nicole, do you have anything else to add on that question?
Gabriella provided some clarity. So what she was speaking to specifically was, some of these clients or accounts that they're working with, what her company does is only a very small portion of what their business model might be. So, I think that the same still applies, Gabriella. It's, really focus on the areas where you can help them. It might just be a small portion of their business, but that's still really important, right? So you can come in and help them on that portion, and then bring in those other partnerships or relationships that you have to kind of aid in maybe their primary function of their business.
And I mean, if you're here, you're definitely familiar with HubSpot. 40% of HubSpot's revenue last year came from the partner program. HubSpot has people on staff that can do strategy, but what they've determined is our best opportunities are to develop the tools and the technology, and it's not to do the implementation of the long-term strategy. So they develop partnership programs to support those other areas, because HubSpot is only as good as the strategy. I can't buy HubSpot, not use it, and grow my business. I can only grow my business by using it. So it really sounds like the best fit for what you're doing is to develop strategic partnerships, and maybe even implement some kind of a revenue share model. That's getting into some nitty gritty. And I honestly would love to hop on a call one-on-one just to talk through that with you. So if you'll connect with me over LinkedIn and send me a message, we can go ahead and set up a time to do that. So Nicole, are there any other questions we can go ahead and address?
That's it for now.
Awesome. So how is ABM different from other marketing approaches? Well, as I've already mentioned, ABM is exclusive to the B2B space. And again, when we actually dissect the word account-based marketing, most marketing, especially when you look at exclusively inbound marketing, is more lead-based marketing. It's contact-based marketing. And in reality, in the B2B space, you don't receive payments from an individual, you receive payments from the account. So that's why account-based marketing is exclusive to B2B. It also requires a list of real target companies. So again, with inbound, a lot of inbound marketers stop at the buyer persona. They've got an idea of who they're trying to actually get in contact with. Some inbound marketers will take it a step further and actually develop what's called an ideal client profile, which outlines really the data points that define the best fit customer. So that could be their revenue, their number of employees, where they're located, the technology that they use. But ABM takes it the step further to actually develop a list of real target companies that you are then creating marketing to engage and then close. ABM also requires a lot more data and appropriate technology to do at scale. I think about inbound really as the first appropriate step into digital marketing. To do inbound really, really well, you probably need a website where you can put up blogs. You need to have a good content writer. And from there, you need the appropriate CRM and marketing automation to make it easy to start a sales conversation. You can probably do that with a Calendly link that you can get for free. And you can throw up a WordPress website, and WordPress is for hosting and maintenance. And I mean, you can do it for incredibly inexpensively. And as long as you've got a really, really good content writer, you can go ahead and start to attract a lot more customers. But again, they may not be qualified. They may not be the right fit, but that's how you get started with inbound. Whereas with account-based marketing, you maybe need what is called a data enrichment tool, where you can put in your ICP to generate a real list of target accounts. You need maybe an ad platform like Terminus, or you need an appropriate level of HubSpot to then create direct one-to-one connections with accounts. So it requires more data and it requires more technology. It's also hyper-personalized. So again, I think of account-based marketing is taking inbounds, the email newsletter that you just kind of send out to all your customers, and you move from an email newsletter to really sending a handwritten note. It's that personalized. You also get your entire company involved. So I know that I talked about at the beginning, you get marketing and sales aligned, but really highly effective account-based marketing, it's a company strategic move. And here's why. Think about having a hyper-personalized marketing experience that invites you into a sales conversation. You start that sales conversation and the salesperson knows your journey to get to them. They know exactly what you're looking for, and they're able to partner you with the appropriate product or service that's going to help you grow your business. And then you finally get over to maybe customer support or customer success or whatever that looks like within the company, and you get treated like a stranger. That doesn't work. And it's a bit jarring. So you need to have the ability to actually share one singular view of the customer, from marketing all the way down to customer success. I think of it from attraction to offboarding. You want to have a singular customer experience that feels seamless, where the customer feels prioritized, and again, you're developing a real relationship that prioritizes the success of their business. And lastly, ABM focuses on revenue over leads. So when you attract the best fit customers that you really can serve incredibly well, it doesn't just help you close more deals. It most certainly does that. It also helps your customer lifetime value, because you've prioritized finding the right customers over more customers. And when you find the right customers, they'll stick with you for years and years to come, because you've actually prioritized the success of their business. And we all know that it's about 10 times easier to retain a customer than it is to get a new customer. So yes, you will probably have less sales conversations coming in the door when you start an ABM campaign. And that is honestly to be expected. It's a bit jarring at first. I don't recommend necessarily shutting off your inbound engine. It's going to still generate some potentially good quality conversations. But when you look at launching an ABM campaign, it's going to take a little bit of time to attract, engage, and then get those accounts into a sales conversation. But when you do it right, the sales conversations move much more quickly. They have a higher deal size, and then they stay with you for years to come. So that then begs questions. What kinds of businesses should use ABM? We've already talked about this. We're going to continue to just hammer it home, and you need to be B2B. If you're not in the B2B space, ABM will not work for you, and that is okay. There are other marketing strategies that you can use. You also need to solve a specific problem for an industry, a company role, or a stage of business growth. And I want to give you a couple examples just to kind of put some more context to that. So again, like I gave the example of lending software. I can't necessarily go to, for example, marketers with lending software and say, hey, I've got this great piece of tech. You should really use it. That doesn't work. That context is mismatched. That's not an appropriate account-based marketing strategy. Company role. Again, I can maybe take this amazing marketing automation tool to finance. It doesn't work. It's not the right role within the company. You need to get the right person in the right company with your account-based marketing. And then this last one that has kind of puzzled some people when I say stage of business growth. If you specifically have great consulting that works with venture capital funded startups, you don't want to necessarily go after Salesforce. You don't want to go after HubSpot. That's not your target audience. That's not who you're trying to close, because Salesforce and HubSpot, they've kind of got their systems and their processes down. So if you're a consulting group that, again, focuses on venture capital startups that helps to implement appropriate processes to scale and then get the return on investment for your venture capital. That's, again, a very different business use case than somebody that's in the enterprise consulting space. So those are the three things that you want to have identified. Again, what industry do we serve, what role within the company, and what stage of business growth. The next thing is you want to have a larger deal size. So again, these are going to be companies that are coming in that really you want to have enough of a deal size to where you can focus less on quantity of deals coming in your pipeline and more on quality of deals coming in your pipeline. And that shift, again, it will be jarring at first, but what you'll see is that over time, you'll have a higher lifetime value of customers, and you'll start to see that your annual revenue will continue to increase because you have a higher and higher retention rate among your customer base. So what we've seen is that at least a $25,000 annual deal size is what you're going to want to look for. If you go below that, you're going to need to focus more on some quantity as well. It's not impossible. It's just highly recommended that you have at least 25,000. You also want to have a longer sales cycle. So if you've got a sales cycle that is only 7 days, again, a lot of what account-based marketing does really, really well is it engages multiple contacts within each account. And if you don't have enough time to actually engage multiple contacts and start to serve marketing collateral to each of the different decision makers within the buying committee, then ABM may not be the right approach for you. You may want to focus more on an inbound strategy that will allow you to then really get more contacts in, more so than getting the right contacts in. The other thing with this is ABM has really done a lot to actually accelerate the pipeline velocity. So deals coming through just close more quickly. And if you don't already have somewhat of a longer sales cycle, you won't see that pipeline velocity increase. And this one is optional, but I found that you need an ongoing business relationship with your customers. So this is why ABM works really, really well in the SaaS space, because SaaS is based on a recurring revenue model. So if you don't have an ongoing business relationship, and I think of, for example, growing up, my father was a landscape architect. So he would purchase really expensive, heavy pieces of machinery, but that was kind of the one-off. So yes, there might be ways that his supplier of Bobcat equipment could have mapped out based on his stage of business growth, what equipment he might need next. And yes, you can create ongoing business relationships, but really it was kind of the one-off purchases of he got a Bobcat whenever he needed a new Bobcat. And yes, they built a great relationship, but it wasn't based on closing the account. It was really more on providing as much value as possible to an industry more so than a specific account. So again, if you have if you want to go with a much higher deal size, I would say at least $100,000 as a deal size to use ABM in a business situation where you don't have an ongoing relationship with your customers. So I think it's also important to just throw out a bunch of stats so you can see really the impact that ABM has for B2B marketers. So I'm going to just roll through these really, really quickly and then kind of give you the summarized version of what this actually means for you today. So again, 85% of marketers saw an increase in ROI when they implemented ABM. What I find even more interesting is that no marketer saw a decrease in ROI. So your worst case scenario is you maintain the status quo. 80% saw a larger average deal size. 56% saw a rise in best fit customer base. 53% were able to build stronger relationships with their top tier clients. 53% also saw higher quality opportunities. 35% saw better alignment between marketing and sales. And then 35% were also able to accelerate their sales pipeline, which means they were able to close deals faster. So that's all fine and dandy, but what does that actually mean for you today? Well, ABM is important for B2B marketers specifically because you set better expectations with your customers. I think that we can all agree that many of the times that customers leave frustrated is because they had mismatched expectations. So with ABM and hyper-personalized content that directly speaks to the individual account's needs means that you're setting expectations on the front end of what you will actually deliver. So Gabriella, you mentioned earlier that, how do we match our service to the appropriate businesses when we're only a piece of it? You set the expectation that, hey, we are a piece of this overall success. We are a critical piece, but we are a piece to your overall success. And we've helped to build this partnership program that then brings other pieces together so that you have the greatest success possible when you actually use this group of services together. So again, setting appropriate customer expectations on the front end leads to a better lifetime customer relationship on the back end. Again, increased ROI. That is music to every CEO's ears. That is music to every CFO's ears. When you can implement ABM incredibly well, you'll see an increase in ROI across the board. Deals close faster. I mean, once you've gotten somebody in the pipeline, they are educated. They're actually to that 80% of the way towards the close, and they just need the salesperson to bring them home. You also have higher customer retention rate, and I think that goes really back to that customer expectation set on the front end. And then this is something that I see it's not an obvious effect, but is genuinely beneficial. You have happier employees because sales and marketing are no longer in this constant strife and battle over whose fault it is that revenue is not coming in the door. They're aligned, they're working well together, and they're getting results. When you actually also have best fit customers, the customers are happier with the results that you're giving them. They're happier with your company. They're happy with the service that they receive. So they're not calling in constantly to support to just kind of gripe and complain sometimes because the software isn't working how they expected it to work, or the service that was offered isn't working how they thought it would. You have better, happier customers, which then leads to better, happier employees. And then lastly, again, you have stronger customer relationships. And as we saw from the example that I gave earlier, again, Mojo Media Labs had 74% of its revenue sourced back to referrals, which means that we are able to have strong relationships with our customers, and they're talking about us and we don't have to ask them to. They just want to help other businesses grow, and they know that we'll help them do it. So when that happens, man, our team is excited and thrilled whenever we get a new referral, because we know that means that not only are we delivering good service, but we've actually started to develop more than just a business relationship, but in many ways a friendship with our clients. And again, if you want to see what that transition actually looks like step by step, I highly encourage you to go to mojomedialabs.com/webinar and register for this webinar next week. Again, if you also register, 10 webinar attendees will actually get a signed copy of Sangram's new book. Again, that's called Move, the 4-Question Go-to-Market Framework. There's also going to be a live Q&A at the end so that you can ask any question that you would like to Sangram, Nicole, or Mike. So before we dive into the live demo of how you can get started today, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and ask, do we have any questions?
We do not have any other questions right now, but if you all have them, please type them in and Mason and I will address.
Awesome. So like I mentioned earlier, account-based marketing requires a lot more technology and data. And quite frankly, if you went to your executive team and said, I want to try account-based marketing and I need all these new pieces of tools and technology, you're probably not going to get the go-ahead. You need to prove some value and some results first, which is why we highly recommend anyone that wants to run ABM runs a pilot campaign with the tools you have today. So if you're here, you likely have HubSpot, which means you can use your existing data, your existing CRM, your existing marketing automation to actually run some sort of an ABM campaign. And what I would recommend is that you run a pilot campaign towards one of two lists. So let's go back to just the HubSpot main page. This is our demo portal. These are not real customers. These are not real analytics. These are just things that we show when we're demoing the HubSpot software to potential customers of ours. But when you go to sales, you can see deals. So we've got a deal pipeline here that we can see really what stage a potential customer is in. So do they have an appointment scheduled? Are they qualified? And then have we actually shown them a presentation? Do we have decision makers bought in? Have we sent over a contract? Have we won the deal? Do we need to reset somewhere back earlier, maybe do another presentation? We don't have the decision makers bought in, or did we lose the deals? So as you can see, we have, in this example, quite a few lost deals that value about $700,000. So really, as you look at this deal pipeline, if it's closed lost, they at least went through some portion of this deal pipeline. So they may have been qualified to buy, they may have gotten the presentation, but we didn't get decision makers bought in for whatever reason. Maybe they went to a different agency in our case. They went with a different potential competitor of ours. What we can do is then go to contacts, and we can create a list using an active list. And I've already gone ahead and created that because it takes a second to actually populate, but we've created an active list of deal stages that were closed lost in the sales pipeline, and the close date was more than 90 days ago. So this list will actively populate as more deals flow into this pipeline. And what we see here is that we've actually got 4 companies that have gone through some semblance of a sales process. So we've got some level of information. And then what we can do with this is start to run specific ABM campaigns towards these 4 accounts. And some of the pushback that I've gotten before on, well, I don't want to run ABM campaigns towards my lost accounts because they didn't go with us before. And the reason I highly recommend you start here is, 1, you've already got a lot of the data. 2, you probably know exactly why they objected to working with your business, which means you've got more actionable insight and information as to what marketing collateral they need to see to overcome that objection and enter back into a sales process. And again, based on the criteria of your business, I mean, if you know that everyone in your industry is in you're in software space and everybody signs a 2-year contract, it probably doesn't need to be 90 days. It probably needs to be much further out. You may want to do, 1.5 years, and you want to re-engage these contacts and say, hey, I know that it's been, about a year since we last spoke. I want to see, are you happy with the software you went with? Is there any way that we could hop on a call to see if there's a way that we might be able to partner moving forward? And then, again, that could be a sales sequence. That can be personalized emails. If you are on the HubSpot CMS, you can really easily actually create hyper-personalized landing pages at scale. And that's something that we've done, and it's worked highly effectively. But again, this is something that I'd recommend as a starting point. The other idea is, again, going back to that deal pipeline. Let's say we knew we had qualified the buyer, and the next step of our sales process was to present the strategy for this company. And we knew that there were going to be people joining that call that had not yet seen anything from us. We can ask the main point of contact and just say, hey, could we get the emails for the other people that are going to be joining the call? We'd love to send them a case study. And you can go ahead and develop a case study that directly addresses some of the things that that you've already been able to show success with other customers. And then you develop that case study and you send it over so that the people coming in already know the main things that they want to see from a success standpoint. You've already addressed, and you can actually show the success that you've had with other clients. So again, running a pilot campaign, look at your existing sales pipeline. The last idea, and this is something that I can't show in a list format because it's a little bit more difficult to share, but the example that I want to give is we ran a webinar probably 3 months ago called Fix Your Site from Search to Sale. And in that webinar, what we did is we did live website reviews. And then following the webinar, anybody that submitted a website for review, I sat in the podcast studio for about 2 days and I recorded a personal website review for all of those different websites. We created personalized landing pages and really walked them through for about 15 or 20 minutes, the things that we would do differently for their website. And then Nicole, who is our salesperson, sent all of those out, and it ended up generating, I think, 8 sales conversations for you. And when we look at the fact that we need to close probably 4 deals a month to continue to grow our business and help our clients the way that we are projecting that we want to, 8 sales conversations from about 3 dedicated days of work is nothing to scoff at. And again, that aligns your marketing and your sales team because I was able to equip Nicole with appropriate collateral that's on a 1-to-1 scale. And they'd already, in some sense, raised their hand because they submitted a website for review. So if you can run some kind of a campaign that is very specific, and you can invite people into a webinar, if you've already got those tools, you can run an ABM campaign that way, that you can then show to your executive team, we ran this one webinar we got 60 attendees. 30 of them opted in to receive some kind of a free value add, and then we send them a direct value add for their business. And 20% of them entered into a sales conversation. That is huge when you think through the other funnel metrics that you think about from an inbound perspective of we need to get 4,000 leads at the top so we can get 3 sales at the bottom. So that is the power and the value of account-based marketing. So
we do have another question, Mason.
Awesome.
So also from Gabriella, how do you go about targeting won deals that are contacts who are part of a larger international organization, but currently only bought your product for a very small portion of their business?
Okay, I think this is actually a fantastic example because we've actually got a couple of clients on our end that are international brands, but we currently, when we were first starting out, only worked with the US-based brand. So what we do there is we start to develop internal advocates from the brand that we're working with, the smaller, not the international brand, but just the US-based brand. The other thing that we do is we develop a case study around the US-based brand that we can then share with the international brand and say, here's what we were able to do with this US-based brand or this smaller portion of this brand. And because it's literally the same company, it's very easily transferable when you show the value that you were able to bring a portion of their business. So that's one thought process. And again, I don't know necessarily, are you software? Like, I don't know all the details of your business if you're consulting, but I also think through, for example, HubSpot. HubSpot offers a CMS, they offer marketing automation, they offer operations, they offer sales, they offer service. And many people bought just the marketing automation piece. But then what HubSpot has started to do over time is continue to develop more and more content that they can then send out specifically to those companies that are using only the marketing automation piece to show the value of what it looks like when you actually integrate all of your technology together into one seamless platform. So again, what I would recommend is showing the value that you're already bringing a portion of their business and highlight exactly what you can do if you were able to have a greater influence on the entire business.
Just another follow-up question. So Gabrielle is now asking, how do you go about ensuring that that case study gets into the right hands, the right, decision makers within that business?
Great question. So because I've actually got a couple of tools internally, I would use a tool called Sales Intel where we can actually pull contact information from a specific target account, and then we can actually do a one-to-one email. I can get their LinkedIn profile and connect with them over LinkedIn. The other thing is, if you don't have tools like that, what you can then do is just look it up on LinkedIn. I mean, if you're trying to get to a specific function within the business and you can see someone as the international head of marketing or international CMO for your brand, go 2 layers under them and share it with them. CMOs get constantly bombarded by sales and marketing emails because they are essentially the final decision maker, but they're not the end user in most cases. So you want to figure out who is going to be the end user from an international perspective or from the larger perspective of the organization and start to get it in the hands of that individual. The other thing is, if you're already working with the business, you already have contact within the business that, again, can actually do that for you. And you can frame it as, we really love working with you. What we also know is we can serve the larger organization and give them the same results that we've been able to give you, if not better. Could you help make a couple of introductions for me to the appropriate people that I would need to speak with so that we can actually get that conversation going? Because, for example, if somebody wants to speak with Nicole, Nicole is super busy. But if somebody comes to me and proves some kind of value that I can then share with Nicole, that's going to go a lot better because I'm now personally vouching for this other organization. Whereas I think we both get hit with a lot of cold emails. And if there's no personal relationship there, then it's not going to go as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mason.
Absolutely. So are there any other questions in regards to practical application of ABM today?
Again, feel free to drop questions in the chat if you have them.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions come through. I do have 2 questions for everyone that attended. So the first question is, was this exactly what you're hoping to get out of today? So you can just drop a yes, exclamation point, we loved it, you know, whatever you want to say, but is this what you were hoping to get out of today? And then while people are typing, more personalized than I expected, so yes, perfect. The second question I have is, as we are starting to build this community, again, this was our first ABM hug, our goal is to build a marketing community of B2B marketers that want to implement highly effective ABM moving forward. What content is going to help you succeed and win the day so that you will come back over and over and over again and also start to help us build this community? So what information are you looking for as you look at building your ABM programs using HubSpot? And again, feel free to link or connect with us over LinkedIn and share any messages you have there. The other thing is, if you want to have a more in-depth personalized strategy session, I'd be happy to hop on a call with anybody to talk through their ABM strategy. Detailed case studies that demonstrate successful ABM tactics. I'm glad you asked for that. I was actually earlier today developing a case study that highlights a 2-year-long ABM program and how they essentially immediately recovered from COVID using ABM tactics. And when COVID hit, they lost 10% of their revenue. And by the end of 2020, they were able to recover all of that revenue and actually developed a new product for their business that has continued to actually be a continual revenue driver. And once they get people in the door with that one product, they have landed and expanded those clients using additional ABM tactics. So I think that client has had 25% revenue growth in the past 18 months due to implementing an ABM strategy. So that case study will be coming out within the next month, and I'd be happy to share it with this group once it's out. How do you get your key accounts to cooperate with you to develop case studies? So I'll be completely candid. What I've been doing, because I've been on a case study kick for the past probably month and developing 5 or 6 in-depth case studies. What we have done to get started is we actually write the initial round of the case study. So based on the information that we already have, and again, we have an interesting business use case because we're a marketing agency. So we are actually in their HubSpot portals with them. We're able to collect the data, and we're in many cases the day-to-day with them. So we actually know exactly how they're using it and what they're implementing. So we're able to really go ahead and develop a lot of the case study on the front end. And then what we do is we run it by them and we say, hey, we want to make sure that we got all the appropriate details. Are you comfortable with us sharing all this information? Can we get a testimonial? And in my personal experience, what I have found is that people are far better at correcting than creating. And what I mean by that is if you go to somebody and say, hey, we'd like to develop a case study, that causes stress, that causes anxiety, that causes, it sounds like a big commitment because case study is kind of a heavy word. Success story is another way to frame it. Success stories don't sound as heavy. And especially when you say something like a success story, what you're highlighting is you guys are successful, and we want to highlight that as well. So there's also maybe a bit of messaging and how you frame it. But as much as you can, I would start to develop a case study on your own and then go to the client for additional details and approval. And then the other thing that we've started to do with our key accounts that are really, really thriving, this is coming down the pipeline. We've got a case study webinar that we'll do with one of our clients, specifically the one that's had that 25% annual revenue with Sendoso and with Terminus, to highlight how we developed a comprehensive strategy that enabled them to have that growth. So those are some other thoughts. Do you ever face challenges on getting the case study signed off? We often find they have to filter it up, and it never gets approved. To be completely candid, that is a massive challenge. It is not something that I have personally faced. But one of the things that I advocated for when we started to need more and more case studies was that you add it to your agreement language. So as a part of the agreement for working with your business, you start the client relationship by saying something to the extent of, we would love to get, perhaps an English thing. Maybe, I don't know. But when you put it as a part of the agreement language, what you end up getting is from the onset, the customer's expectations are set that, if this works, like we are telling you it will work, we will want to highlight you as a success story. And the pushback that people may give to that is, I don't really want to be highlighted. I don't know. And again, the way that you can frame it is, no, we really do genuinely know that when we work together really, really well, you will find success. You will have a story worth sharing. And as a result, it in some sense actually becomes accountability for you to deliver. And when you frame it that way as, if we don't deliver, we can't develop a case study. We can't develop a success story. It then shows we really do want to deliver. We really do want you to succeed. And again, it's prioritizing the needs of the customer while also still getting that case study. So again, I might even add it to your agreement language from the onset as a part of working with your business.
I'll add one more thing to that, Mason, which I think that's a fantastic idea. Another thing, Mojo uses something called Sendoso, which is a great tool for account-based marketing in and of itself, but it's also a really good client experience tool. And so what we've started to do in instances where we're building case studies or asking for client references, for example, what we do is we send them a small thank you, whether it's a nice bottle of wine or, some sort of sweet treat, something like that, a lunch gift card. Send them something to show that, we do see that you are offering up your time, and time is valuable. And we value you, so we're going to, reward you for helping us out, that type of thing. A little bit goes a long way in terms of things like that. So I would maybe try just rewarding them or gifting them with something small. It doesn't have to be big, but it goes a long way for sure.
Awesome. The last thing that came to mind, and if we have any other questions, please go ahead and send them in. We have, quite frankly, a ludicrous amount of ABM specific content on our website. So I'm going to just copy and paste right now a link to our account-based marketing blog. And we've got 43 different blogs specific to account-based marketing. So anything from what is account-based marketing all the way down to specific content tactics that you can implement and utilize for ABM, we've got it there. So if you're looking for, again, very practical, tactical ways that you can start to implement account-based marketing, the link that I just shared in the chat is going to give you 43 different blogs that will go into depth on really how you can actually implement this. All right, I'm going to ask one last time because I also wanted to show one other thing now that I'm thinking through it. Are there any other questions? And while we get questions going, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one last time. So if you wanted to take this approach of developing a list, again, what you can actually do is edit this. And there is a target account property. And what you would want to do is set that to true. So now these 4 companies are set as target accounts within our HubSpot portal. And then under contacts, I can go to target accounts. And what this is going to allow me to do is see how many contacts we have at each account, how many open deals do we have, what's that value, when's the last time that we did outreach to them, and when's the last time that they engaged with us. And this is going to be really, really helpful as you focus on that initial campaign, because as somebody starts to engage with you, what you want to do is you want to engage with that specific account even more and more until you can get them into a sales conversation. And then you want your marketing to continue to provide what is called air cover. So again, that might be additional case studies, that might be additional blog content, that might be podcasts, whatever content you're creating that can help to accelerate the pipeline is what you want to have as additional value that your marketing team can use as air cover for the sales team. So this section right here is incredibly valuable and helpful as you look at what accounts are actually showing engagement, what accounts actually have numerous contacts that we can do outreach to, and what accounts have we not even reached out to in quite some time that we would need to re-engage. So I hope that that's also helpful as you look at starting to implement and execute some of your own account-based marketing today. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we'll go ahead and give you 4 minutes back. Again, if you have enjoyed this and you actually like an even deeper dive, go to mojomedialabs.com/webinar, and you can actually register to have a live Q&A and to learn from Sangram himself. And I just put the link in the chat as well. So again, go to mojomedialabs.com/webinar, or your go-to-market is broken. Thank you again for joining us. Tell your friends, and we hope to see you back soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.